My name's Isabel and I'm 17 years old and I really enjoy film. I've recently been inspired by a documentary called Catfish. From this, I really want to do a documentary, but I just don't know where to start and what are the chances of something like that happening to me or to anybody really? I think the first place to start with any project, especially a documentary, is the research. I've spent the past few days watching documentaries, reading about them, and all of these documentaries are too popular for a reason. And I think this reason is because of the interesting stories they tell. So I guess to make a good documentary, I need to find an interesting story. But how do directors do it?
I think people come up with the ideas for documentaries because they see something they think is interesting. Maybe other people will be interested in it.
I think directors came up with these ideas of documentaries because these things give us a message.
I think directors pick a topic that both they are interested in and will be of interest to a wider audience.
There is somewhere when something happens and they have a camera.
I presume that there are things that they like, that interest them, and that there's a message they want to give to the public.
These are just assumptions we've made of how directors came up with the ideas behind documentaries. But I want to see if what we think is actually accurate and how directors made their documentaries succeed. Okay, so it's been less than 4 hours since I sent out my emails and I've already got a reply from Henry Singer. Oh my god, okay, let's see what he says. Hi Isabel, we can talk this week if you like. Oh my god, he gave me his number. So I'm just about to call Henry Singer. I'm so nervous, but okay. Here we go.
Hello?
Hello, it's Isabel calling you about the interview.
Hi, Isabel.
How did you decide what you're going to do a documentary about?
Ideas for films come from a lot of sources. You can be at a dinner party and somebody tells you a story of something. You think, wow, that's interesting. I might want to explore that. Or and I'll give you an example, or you're reading a newspaper article or a magazine article, and either the whole article or a bit of the article jumps out at you, and you think to yourself, wow, that might make an interesting basis for a film. So to give you an example, I made a film called The Blood of the Rose, and it was about the murder of a white conservationist named Joan Root in Kenya at a place called Lake Naivasha. And I thought, wow, that sounds like it would make an interesting film because it's clearly about a woman who loved Africa, because she used to make films there. So it's kind of about, her idea of Africa is probably quite interesting. She was murdered and nobody knows who it was, so that might make an interesting kind of detective story. But the bit that most interested me was the idea that we here in London and in Britain buy roses and other flowers from that place, Lake Naivasha. And I thought, wow, she died trying to protect the lake. The lake is the home of this industry, which is polluting the lake. There just were lots of elements that together I thought would make an interesting story. So ideas can come from anywhere, from conversations, from articles, from books, and probably every filmmaker is drawn to different ideas depending on what they're curious about in the world.
You need to set yourself a question. And I thought this meant that by setting yourself a question, you came up with a topic, because you're discovering this question and at the end you realize what it was, or what it wasn't. At the moment, I'm not sure where I'm going with mine, and I need to create structure. I'm just about to call Jeffrey Karoff. Once again, I am so nervous. So here we go.
Good morning.
Hi, Mr. Karoff. So I was wondering how you decided to make a documentary about cave digging.
It was a subject that came to me more than I came to it. I live in Los Angeles, but I have a house in New Mexico. And when we first bought this house, I met some people who lived in the area who said, we are commissioning a cave being dug on our property. Would you like to see it? And that's the sort of invitation that's hard to turn down. So we went over and walked into this magnificent cave, and that there's a shot in the documentary which comes through the door and walks around the corner and reveals the space, and which is exactly the experience that we had walking into that place. We couldn't believe that something that magnificent could exist inside of a mountain, and that we had never seen or felt or experienced anything like it before. I just decided that this was something that I could do, and I got a ways into it, and then he had the collapse in his cave, and I felt very compelled to keep going then. Even though I had no idea where the story was going, that particular incident was key for me, because I thought, okay, I happened to be filming him at this time. He's had this major incident in his life. I felt like I was chosen to do this.
Would you ever make another documentary?
Yeah, actually, I have something that I just submitted a treatment for 2 days ago. So it's about the refereeing in professional basketball, which is a very, very complicated bit of business, and much more complicated than any other sport. I was watching the playoffs this year, and I thought, wow, there were some little moments during the game in which the cameras inadvertently show the referees screaming at some of the top players, and I thought, there's a whole story going on here that you don't really know about.
Hi, Mark.
Hi, Isabel. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Good.
Thank you so much for your time. It's such an honor.
Sure. So, what can I do for you?
I was just wondering how you came up with the ideas behind your documentaries.
I think I very much believe in what Godard says, that a good film is the answer to questions properly posed. The most important thing is when you start out is to decide what is the question that you're asking in a film. So sometimes when you start out, you're not even clear what question you're asking. You're clear only that you have some affinity for the subject. There's some emotional resonance between you as a filmmaker and what you're exploring. You rewrite, film at least 3 times. First time when you think about it, second time in shooting, and the editing is the final rewrite.
I still don't know how to finish it.
much believe in what Godard says, that a good film is the answer to questions properly posed.